Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, Clayton, and I just got back from seeing the latest episode of My Little Pony: Rock Solid Friendship. Now, do you love Maud Pie? If so, you'll definitely love this episode, as it's full of her type of humor, and it has a relatable story that actually has a message that many can relate to, even if you're not as monotone as Maud. But anyways, let's get to that story, shall we? After Maud receives her Rocktorate, the rock equivalent of a doctorate, I guess, she happens to have a choice on her hands. She could either travel to Ponyville to stay with Pinkie Pie, or she could go to a place called Ghastly Gorge, which has a bunch of exotic rocks, but its living conditions are, well, ghastly. So, in order to help her with her decision, and just so she can be with her sister in Ponyville, Pinkie Pie decides to have Maud check out Ponyville, go through some rock caves, and she tries to have her be friends with Starlight Glimmer. And that's all I'll say about the story without going into spoilers. So what did I like about this episode? Well, pretty much any of the scenes with Maud are absolutely hilarious. Ingrid Nilsson puts on an incredible performance, like she always does. And I say incredible mainly because she's able to get through every single scenario with a monotone voice, yet I believe every single emotion Maud is internally thinking. Because the thing about Maud is that her character relies on her going through situations using anti-jokes and saying everything with a monotone voice, in a similar fashion to, say, May from Avatar: The Last Airbender, if you've ever seen it. Because of that, her character, even though she says everything with the same tone of voice and with barely any emotion, you can tell that the character can, be emotional, she just doesn't show it. Ingrid Nilsson pulls that off, and she happens to have the right voice and the right delivery for every single scene. Also, Andrea Libman, who voices Pinkie Pie, is absolutely hilarious, as she always is. Her random sense of humor, constant, quick and quirky animations, and everything Andrea Libman does to increase her delivery and her humor are done absolutely well in this episode. Not only that, but there are even a couple of cameos from some of the ponies that we bronies have adopted, like Lyra Heartstrings and Derpy. They're mainly used as just a couple of funny cameos, but they added to this episode's humor undoubtedly. Not to mention, the animation was actually really good. I liked the way a lot of the rock caves were designed, and there are even a couple of caverns that are discovered throughout this episode by Maud and Starlight Glimmer that look really nice. Even though the show is animated via Flash, they do a good job with the Flash animation, making a lot of the environments look absolutely beautiful. And it almost makes you forget that the show's animation style is, for the most part, pretty simple. But just because it's simple, it doesn't mean it can't be impressive. Now, for the emotional moments in this episode, it gets into the message that sometimes you can't force someone to live a certain way. Since Maud is, let's just face it, sort of an oddball, she prefers to be alone. She prefers to be the lone wolf of her family. And Pinkie Pie initially can't handle that. So when the message comes around that even though you should be involved in someone's decision, you should probably let that person make their own decision about where they want to live and where they want to be. It's actually a pretty well done message, considering I've had to learn a few times that I can't always make everyone's decisions my way. Sometimes you gotta let a certain decision be, the way of the person that needs to make the decision, even when it comes to where they should live or what they should do with their lives. Especially when it comes to those, actually. So yeah, this was a funny episode that also managed to have a good message, and it had some thrilling action in the last sequence. Well, sort of thrilling in the sense that it has a really humorous joke at the end. But the point is, anytime Maud appears in an episode, you're guaranteed to have some fun, and this episode certainly was very fun. So with great animation, awesome humor, and some excellent performances from both Ingrid Nilsson and Andrea Libman as Maud Pie and Pinkie Pie, I give Rock Solid Friendship a 9 out of 10. See you next week.